to do is we saw, I think, about the same 4 Pokemon from both of them in their 2 matches. And I think what is possible is you can throw them off and just be like, hey, I'm going to choose different Pokemon and see how this goes, because maybe you're expecting the same strategy from yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen that Clefairy yet, and
No.
It'd be really kind of cool to see. I don't remember if we saw the Volcarona yesterday.
I don't believe we did.
Which I think would be fun, because there hasn't been a lot of Volcarona on stream. Like, I know that a lot of people were thinking of running it, but with, Landorus and Rock Slide, it's really hard to protect and support a Volcarona. And I think, knowing that there is a Landorus on Brandon's team, maybe trying to figure out, like, oh, can I safely bring that in if I know how to circumnavigate that Landorus? So a lot of, I think, there's a lot of mind games from the night before going into this for them, and just learning how to adjust and how to think, like, how do I prepare for a match that I've already done, or like, hey, if I lost this, how do I come back from it? And if I won this, how do I make sure I'm not too overconfident or, like you said, complacent about going back into this rematch?
Beginning to head into the game a little bit, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this, really. I mean, playing someone in Top Cut can already be a pressure, stressful situation, but playing someone again adds a whole new layer to that.
Yeah. And so, you guys, on your screen, on your left side, you have Jackson's team of the Alola Persian, the Tapu Fini, Volcarona, Tyranitar, Kartana, and Clefairy. And on the right side, with Brandon, who has already locked in, has Charizard, Porygon 2, Landorus Theron, Kartana, Tapu Lele, and Marowak. Both of them locking in.
I mean, to me, that signifies that they studied this and they knew, at least for game one, I'm going to do this. And I'm really happy to see that kind of confidence from both sides.
Yeah. So going into, I'm super excited for this rematch. And once again, guys, Jackson Finch versus Brandon Meckley in your top 8 for Costa Mesa. So Persian and Kartana as a lead from Jackson hitting the field, as Brandon leads with Tapu Lele and his own Kartana.
Pretty interesting lead matchup. I'm going to have to say that it's fairly even. It's nice that the Psychic Terrain is preventing the Persian from getting that fake out. You don't want Jackson to have too much of an early momentum. We saw that even the early turns on Jackson's side yesterday led to situations in which Jackson just had so much more room to make moves and position himself, and being able to cut that off so early is really a benefit for him. I'm really hoping that we see Porygon 2 in the back, just because it's something that's so bulky and so vital to this team that having it in the back is pretty smart.
And Jackson starting things off with a parting shot from Persian into that Tapu Lele slot, going to be lowering its attack and special attack as it returns to Jackson, and he can send out one of his Pokemon in the back.
Jackson kind of lacking that Intimidate ability, parting shot making up for that, but what you're going to see is Tapu Fini.
All right, and Tapu Fini hitting the field with Misty Terrain, going to overwrite that Psychic Terrain, taking away a stab bonus that Tapu Lele does get for any psychic attacks, as Kartana goes for the Tailwind on Jackson's side, going to be boosting his speed for the next couple of turns, going to make it faster, as the opposing Kartana actually matches Tailwinds. So these are going to be now even on here. As Tapu Lele goes for the Dazzling Gleam, that spread move is going to be hitting both Pokemon, both Tapu Fini and Kartana.
Thanks to the parting shot from the previous turn, Dazzling Gleam not doing as much damage as it normally would, but Kartana did take a pretty decent amount of damage, roughly 50%, just probably a roll on the weaker side there. Matching the Tailwind from Brandon, especially, very good. He was at the risk of being overrun, especially when Tapu Lele was weakened on the previous turn. Tapu Fini looking in a pretty hard little position, just because the Kartana speed tie or potential speed tie is very important, because both Tapu are afraid of Kartana.
Yeah, especially like we know that Kartana likes to run those Leaf Blades, as Jackson's Kartana is going to be going into Protect, not going to want to take conservative attack, as the opposing Kartana on Brandon's side goes for the Leaf Blade into the Tapu Fini slot, does get the knockout, and does get the Beast Boost into its attack. That Leaf Blade doing massive damage because of that. It's super effectiveness.
Brandon really benefiting from his lack of fear there. Jackson protecting the Kartana. I mean, probably done because it had taken prior damage, and Sacred Sword had the possibility of KOing, whereas the other Kartana couldn't KO the other Kartana. So a bit rough, because the Dazzling Gleam actually ended up mattering a lot, in terms of at least influencing Jackson's decision-making. But the kind of bravery, or just, if you want to call it offensive position, I prefer bravery, from Brandon really paying off there, and especially with the early turns of Tailwind still around.
Yeah. And so Persian hitting the field for that fallen Tapu Fini, and Kartana on Brandon's side this turn actually protecting itself, not going to take any sort of damage, as Persian foul plays into that protected Kartana slot. So Brandon making that read, and Kartana going for the Leaf Blade into that protected Kartana slot as well, as Tapu Lele goes once more for that Dazzling Gleam, hits both Pokemon, picks up the KO on Kartana, and gets the critical hit on it. and Persian just taking that to below 50% on its health.
I was,
to 15. Wow,
I was
sorry.
just about to say, and then we see that was a damage roll on the Kartana, only to be followed up with a critical hit. The Persian HP, pretty interesting. I don't think it was ever revealed too well yesterday, but we see that it's not Barry. For me, this either indicates that it's a Z move because Kartana didn't Bloom Doom the Tapu Lele for the safe KO, or some other item. There are a few tech items out there that could work pretty well. Again, the positioning for Brandon just fantastic there. The bravado, maybe not so much for Jackson anymore.
And Kartana on Brandon's side, switching out for the Landorus, going to be getting an Intimidate onto the Persian and the Tyranitar that had come in for that Kartana on Jackson's side. So we do have the sand up as Persian goes for the foul play into the Kartana slot that is now a Landorus, and Tyranitar going for a Dragon Dance, going to be boosting its attack and its speed for one stage. As Tapu Lele goes for Dazzling Gleam, once more going to be picking up the knockout on this Persian and going to be doing some okay damage on Tyranitar.
Actually, Parting Shot really helps out there. Tyranitar, even though he gets the sand boost thanks to the special defense sand boost thanks to being a rock type, not that much damage. And you also know that, as we saw yesterday, and just looking at the team preview, Tyranitar is the only possible Mega. At this point, even with the Dragon Dance, I don't believe that it has the comeback potential to make the 1 versus 4 because of the Kartana in the back. He does switch in the Kartana, which leaves room for a critical hit, but you can have a miss. There's Intimidate in the back now. Brandon has a lot of resources to kind of quell this Tyranitar.
And Tyranitar going for the Mega Evolution on Jackson's side as the Landorus, like Himo said, does switch out for that Kartana. Going for the Crunch into the Tapu Lele slot from Jackson's Tyranitar. Doesn't quite get as much damage as he wants, but the Tyranitar does survive the Dazzling Gleam from that Tapu Lele.
But again, at this point, it's looking over. You can't get through Kartana and Landorus, and you have to still focus on Lele, which is throwing out Dazzling Gleam. Probably choice specs, just because even through Parting Shot, it's dealing very strong damage and hasn't been deadered at all by this Parting Shot from the first turn. In terms of adjustments, first I want to say that I like Brandon's adjustments a lot. He went for a faster mode that relied on a speed control, whereas yesterday his fast mode was just, I'm going to send out Charizard and kind of hope this works out. I don't know what's in the back. I like to think Porygon too, just because I think it's very good in this matchup, but the Tailwind mode doesn't really suit that. Wouldn't be surprised at all by seeing Charizard there.
And so Lele actually getting knocked out by the sand after taking rock slide damage from Tyranitar. Kartana avoiding it, getting a Tailwind up, but Kartana now going to be faster on that side of the field as Landorus once more onto the field, gets another Intimidate onto Tyranitar, so they're at -2 now. So this is definitely just Brandon's game, and Jackson's going to think about adjustments in game 2. I mean,
the Tailwind prevents the rock slide flinch victory here. At this point, Jackson really needs to just be taking the time to think about adjustments. Porygon 2, seemingly so annoying, but it didn't even make an appearance in this match. Brandon's fast offensive mode, the Tapu Lele, putting on that spread move pressure early, gaining that Tailwind speed control, and just being generally brave with his decision making really worked out for him in the first game, and it's up to Jackson to kind of readjust to that. We did see Kartana and Lele putting in a lot of work. I would kind of like to see Volcarona just because of that. It potentially benefits from Charizard's presence in the sun. Something that can kind of hang around with Porygon 2 because assuming that it's the Quiver Dance set, which sort of on a Tyranitar, Volcarona, Persian team you do normally expect. It could just boost in Porygon 2's face without much consequence. And, just is able to apply its own pressure, stop Brandon from being so brave, throwing out those Leaf Blades, those Sacred Swords.
Well, yeah, and I would like to say, though, I appreciate, because yesterday for Brandon, we saw on stream, he went for the Trick Room mode, and now understanding that, hey, Jackson only has so many ways to counter that, let's hit him hard, let's hit him fast, and, put him on, the back foot right now, and it worked out really well here.
Jackson going in very quickly.
Yeah, that was, a 3-sec. Yeah, that was a really fast lock-in for Jackson, and,
to me, it was practically 3 seconds.
Kind of maybe seeing some adjustments, like you said, that Volcarona, if you're able to support it well and just kind of make sure you get those Quiver Dances if he is running those, just to make it a really scary Pokemon. He can hit that Kartana really easily, and maybe, unfortunately, taking that Dazzling Gleam damage on his Kartana really kind of hurt him early on.
It did.
But again, I think part of this team is so reliant on that Persian being able to use Parting Shot, and it works against Brandon's team because of that Tapu Lele, but understanding that thing is more of a threat because yesterday I think it was the Landers switching for the Tapu Lele, we got the knockout on it, and so negated that threat almost immediately. So going into game 2, guys, Brandon winning game 1, Jackson Finch versus Brandon Meckley. So hoping to see some adjustments, especially on Jackson's side, and maybe if you're Brandon, the right adjustments to counteract Jackson's adjustments.
Yeah. You got to get in your opponent's head a little bit. You can't just stay on the same route the whole time.
So Persian and Cartana once more on the field for Jackson, as Tapu Lele and Cartana as well on Brandon's
I
side.
guess you can stay on the same route sometimes. It's, things work out. The lead matchup is, I think, again, in favor of Brandon. I think that he, despite taking, his time in the team preview, it's kind of hard to choose, I think, from a team like Brandon's. He has so many different options of speed control. He has Tailwind, Trick Room, and just, I'm going to be offensive right out of the gate. We do see foul play just immediately, and that's cool because he recognizes that I just need to remove this Lele immediately.
Yeah. All right, so Persian and Cartana doubling up on that Lele.
Oh, my.
But that Lele does hang on after taking the Leaf Blade and a foul play, leaving Brandon's Cartana free to Tailwind as Tapu Lele uses Dazzling Gleam. Obviously connecting with both Pokemon right now. Gets the KO on the Persian, and oh my gosh. And gets Cartana down to 37 health on there.
That is going to be incredibly hard to come back from, and I don't know if Jackson's in the position or has the resources to do it. Volcarona, again, looking great here, but he sends out the Tyranitar. This is incredibly problematic because not only does Brandon have Tailwind, but he also has Lele that can just press Dazzling Gleam for free. Cartana will be KO'd. Tyranitar will take a large amount of damage. And if it even gets to that point, because Cartana still has the freedom to attack Tyranitar, he doesn't really have any punishes for Jackson. He has to try and be able to stall out this Tailwind, but because he just lost Persian, the Pokemon that kind of gives the free turns with Fake Out, he's in an incredibly hard position.
And Cartana going for the Protect and not wanting to take any Dazzling Gleam damage, as Tyranitar also goes for the Protect, going to want to stall out this Lele to take sand damage. Cartana going for the Leaf Blade into the protected Tyranitar slot, and Tapu Lele once more going for that Dazzling Gleam. Jackson just negating any sort of damage with that Protect, stalling out a turn of Trick Room, as Tapu Lele does get knocked out by the residual sand damage.
I mean, that was a very safe double Protect. Removing Lele for free thanks to the sand is pretty important just because now it can't press the Dazzling Gleam, pick up a free KO while possibly KOing Tyranitar itself. Forces Brandon to play a little more straightforward, lack of spread moves unless he uses Landorus, but we do see the Marowak, which, bar like maybe an Earthquake, don't generally have spread moves to use. However, because of the Tailwind, even if Marowak is still slower, he should be able to still pick up the KO on the Tyranitar with Cartana. There's no Intimidate on Jackson's side. Cartana on Jackson's side can't do that much back unless it's Z-move or gets a critical hit on the opposing Cartana. So Cartana can take on Tyranitar, Marowak can take on Cartana. You still need to saw out those Tailwind turns. There's still 2 more. The double Protect is helpful, but it's limiting on your future positioning because now you have to rely on, I believe, 33% chance, I don't know if it's 30 or 33, to get a double Protect, something very risky, and if it doesn't work out, you might have just lost the game right there.
And those kind of rolls are always like really difficult to sit through, but Cartana is being switched out for the Tapu Fini that Jackson has in the back. So Tapu Fini going to be overriding that terrain, going to get the Misty terrain, preventing any sort of status infliction, and Brandon not having lost that Tapu Lele doesn't have any way to rewrite that. Tyranitar going for that Mega Evolution, so we will be getting Mega Tyranitar over on Jackson's side. And those Tailwind turns are still going to be up, and we have a Z move from Brandon's side, and it is going to be that Blue Doom from Cartana.
I would think it was targeted to Tyranitar, but because of the Fini switch in, it really doesn't matter which target it chose, and there was no Protect. That's a KO either side. I do expect it on the Tyranitar slot with Marowak attacking into Cartana. While that was sort of a good switch, there's really not... it only benefits Brandon. He's injuring Fini. He's KOing Tyranitar. He's getting that Beast boost. Cartana's coming back in. There's not a way, really, at this point, that Jackson can even prevent a second Tailwind from going up. I think that bar some sort of RNG, there's not a lot of... Oh, and speaking of RNG, we see the crit on Tapu Fini, but at this point, I don't even think it matters. The speed control, the amount of resources, Jackson barely has 2 Pokemon. I mean, if you added up the HP, that wouldn't even be like a full Pokemon. Yeah. While he has Cartana at full, Marowak with sand damage, and a completely healthy Pokemon on the back. A very well played from Brandon, just recognizing that yesterday I wasn't offensive enough. My team is an offensive team. I'm just going to go in and see how he deals with my aggression. And it worked out very well.
Yeah, especially because I think Jackson's team is so used to having to deal with, like, you know, any sort of trick room setter or whatnot, and then, like, going against that. So Kartana lead blading into the top Infinity slot. I'm going to pick up that knockout, get another beast boost. Also gets the critical hit.
Just insult to injury, salt in the wound.
I mean, that's like 2 critical hits on top Infinity from the Shadow Bone in that earlier turn, and Kartana just sitting here, and it's going to be Sacred Sorting into that Kartana slot on Brandon's side. Almost enough to pick up the knockout, but Marowak Shadow Boning going to pick up this knockout on Kartana, going to clean up the game.
Ooh, like 3 critical hits, 0 matter. Just wasting all your good luck right there.
I'm definitely a firm believer of that type of stuff. But so very well played from Brandon's side. Really adjusted super well from seeing his matches against Jackson yesterday. And Jackson, you know, kind of going for a little bit of like the same strategy, but tried really hard to, like, I think, kind of come back from that. But losing that Persian turn 1 was just hard for him because it was his only, like, true answer to lowering Lele's offensive pressure.
Right. Yeah, he had Tapu Fini, but that's not a great answer. Immediately, you have to get that terrain control out. He was leading with Kartana, so even if you did that, it's a big punish on either slot, really. I would have liked to see the Volcarona, but it's pretty understandable not to bring it, in my opinion. You have a Landorus Therian, you have Marowak, you have Charizard. Volcarona doesn't really like playing against any of those, especially if it's Assault Vest Landorus. You also have Porygon 2, which, while it can Quiver Dance in your face, it has the option to absolutely just change the speed order, making you now very fast, Volcarona very slow.
Yeah. And I think, like, on Jackson's side, you know, his offensive pressured Pokemon, like his attackers, weren't really matched up super well to Brandon's. Like, Brandon just had that faster pace and, like, that ability to just deal out massive damage, whereas most of Jackson's team had to really just be set up in some way.
Right.
So, good job to Brandon.
Brandon moving on to top 4. You know, he's gotten second at a regional before. He's been in similar situations. It's going to be interesting to see if he can take it all the way this time.
And, you know, good job to you, Jackson, as well.
Top 8 is no laughing matter.
Yeah, that's great CP still. So, we will see you guys.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Yeah. We're going to have the 3rd top 8 game coming, I would say, less than a minute.
Yeah, so see you guys then.